Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our final episode of Season 3 of Bobble Pod. Don't worry, we're going to be back with a Season 4. Some of you might be like, oh, and some of you will be like, yay. But yeah, episode 28 out of all the episodes we've done this year. It's been a hectic year. So first and foremost, thank you to Callum Ronan, who's our producer.
You're very welcome.
And Josh, who we won't put on mic because he has a horrible voice, which is why he's behind the camera. You guys have been obviously instrumental this year with our season. So thank you, first of all, to you guys to help us get through Season 3. And I can't wait for Season 4, where we're going to be recording more frequently. And more importantly, having more guests on board and really taking Bobble Pod to the next channel. So, as always, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. If you want to see highlights of what we've been doing in Season 3 and know what's coming up in Season 4, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast channels. If you're on YouTube, hello YouTube, as always. Don't forget to subscribe and click, if I get the word out, click on the bell notification to know and get notified of when the next episodes are coming out. Episode 28, final episode. What I'm going to be talking about, Blue Ocean versus Red Ocean. So Blue Ocean versus Red Ocean. What does that even mean? What is Blue Ocean? What is Red Ocean? So let's start with Red Ocean. When we say, and this conversation comes out to, so I'm going to give a shout out to them, B. Braun, who invited me to speak at their medical marketing conference. My talk was about, an adaptation of the tackling Google in a digital age. But I was listening to other presentations that day. I stayed all day to listen. Some people left, some people stayed. I went to stay all day and see all the people presenting. And one person presented talked about differentiation, branding, and Red Ocean versus Blue Ocean. And to be honest with you, I did not have a notion of what that was until that moment. And then I did some research and I thought, you know what? This would make a very, very good podcast to talk about and how it's relevant now in the current economical situation we're in and those that are planning for what needs to be 2023. So Red Ocean, imagine yourself, you're in a red ocean. It's full of, fishes, but it's also full of other fishermen. So all of you are there in the same ocean, fighting for the same amount of fish. That's the Red Ocean. The reason it's red is because it's a darker color. The idea is that you're all fighting and bleeding over the same customers, etc., same clientele. And it's crowded, it's overcrowded. And it's, red is obviously a color of anger, can be an attribute to us like stress element. So it's think of it, a very chaotic, busy market sector. Blue Ocean is calm, collective, steady, as blue should be as the color. But in this ocean, there's only one fisherman. And the fish looks different because it's a new type of fish, because it's a different type of customer. It's a different type of client. It's a new form of customer, new form of client. And he's literally fishing by himself because he has no competition. The big difference between Blue Ocean and Red Ocean is full of competitors. Busy marketplace. Blue Ocean is where you put yourself where you don't have many competitors. In fact, none. To give an example of this, of what is a Blue Ocean market, Red Ocean market, apologies, Red Ocean, let me get it right, is think the taxi industry around the world. You had private cabs, especially in London. Let's look at London. You had black and white cabs, black cabs, and that was it. And then you had private taxi firms where you had to call up and you worked with them directly. So you either got a public taxi, essentially, which was allowed to take into cities and other places, or you got a private taxi, which you couldn't hail and you had to pre-book only. And then along came a company called Uber, which changed the market forever. Same marketplace, taxis, but they got people to use their own cars, register as taxi drivers, create an app for them, and create an app for customers to say, you know what, you don't need to hail a black and white cab anymore and go to a black and white cab hailing station. You don't need to find local taxi numbers anymore to see who can come to you and pre-book. You can get a taxi instantly, anytime, wherever you are, and it will come to you. All by dropping a pin of a location in there. That is Blue Ocean as a company, Uber. Big, hectic, competitive market. They introduced something new, differentiated, and brought out a product that did something new. Another example of that is hotels and hospitality. So crowded. You've got websites like Trivago, Booking.com. You've got the independents like Premier Inn, Travelodge, all competing for, bookings and booking space. And then along comes a company called Airbnb. And Airbnb, very similar to Uber, still focuses about you booking an accommodation or a holiday abroad where you don't have to get as a package deal and you can find something better in an apartment in the city centre instead of having to pay for a hotel, which is service, and you got accommodation. I've used Airbnb multiple times. I've actually used hotel booking sites multiple times and even done packages with holidays multiple times. But Airbnb is convenient because it opens up you to other areas, unique locations where you can get an amazing villa or a house or apartment in city centers around the world. But it also allowed for more spaces to become available in busy cities. So if you're in a busy city and you're struggling because the price is very, very high for a hotel, then you can always go on Airbnb and again on your app, find something, converse with the person there and then, confirm the booking and reserve it if it's available on those dates. And that's it. It's just you and that apartment or that building. I used it. I remember going to Lisbon. I ended up getting a whole apartment in Sintra, just on the outskirts. And it was dead. It was dead at that time of year, but it was a good price, which is why I went. But the idea is that it allowed me to book a whole house, fully serviced. I could bring my own food, cook my own food. I had someone to come in and do the cleaning and dry cleaning and stuff like that, which is obviously really helpful. So there are facilities, amenities that really, really help. But again, a great example of blue ocean product customer in a red ocean environment that just differentiated. Now, the reason I talk about this is we're in a very, very difficult economic environment. And we're going to keep mentioning this because the idea is, and what I hear from a lot of businesses is challenges they're facing. What can they do right now? Well, maybe the red ocean versus blue ocean methodology is something they should consider. Because if you know where you fit and it's very crowded, what can you do different that's going to attract more customers to you? That's what we're looking at in terms of strategies and areas where we can grow as an agency. What's our USP? What do we have that's great that other agencies don't have, where we can differentiate and offer something different in terms of value? Because obviously we're in a very competitive market space. How do we attract new clients in a different way to what everybody else is doing? And everyone is banging on the same drum, saying the same thing, but how are we going to differentiate? What are we going to do different? How are we going to build trust with clients and show them we have the right roadmap and do things differently? And a lot of that is to what is launching our Bobble Insights platform, which is an in-house platform. I can't give too much information about it, but our clients will know it because our clients will have visibility of it in terms of how we're taking our performance marketing channels, digital channels, to the next level. That is our blue ocean product. We're in a red ocean, place. We always will be. But I want to find other places where we can swim and target. You could do that by differentiating to other sectors where your competition isn't focused on because they might not see value of it. But then you need to look at, well, how do your products or services fit that? And that's what you've got to do right now. And the biggest issue with that is especially e-commerce businesses that will struggle with that. I mean, Amazon did it best where they launched, an affordable ebook with Amazon Kindle. They launched that in the last recession, differentiated with a completely new technological product, which was the best seller because they created something new, affordable. Instead of people buying books and sending them out, they said, well, actually, here's something that's environmentally friendly. Here's something you can gift to someone. They've got access to hundreds of books already, and then they can buy a simple, cheap subscription to a product that's already like 30 quid. And they've got it at a touch of a pad, and it weighs less than a book, and it's easier to take on a flight and read because of dim light. And they innovated. They created a new product themselves and sold it. And that became the pinnacle of Amazon creating multiple different products based on customer need, consumer need, to the Amazon Fire Stick, to the Fire Tablet, to Alexa, and everything else that they offer as Amazon products and Amazon basics. Like, we can do this at Elements. Now, obviously, we're not all Amazon if we're an e-commerce client, but you've got to look at, well, what can we do ourselves? What can we do to simplify, improve the process? What do people not like about certain products or services? What's the pain points? We highlighted this in our previous podcast talking about, generating business in a recession. every business right now has a pain point. You've got to target that and understand that and create a new offering and go and say, well, we help you resolve this pain point, which is what everybody else is not talking about. That allows you to go from red ocean to blue ocean. You need to start differentiating yourself, not just with products, but your marketing and the services that you offer and how you communicate that. The best way to communicate that is through content marketing. The content you give on your website has to be very different. If someone is on market and you're B2B and they're trying to compare you to others, you've got to look at how you solve problems, look to educate, provide answers, understand who your customer is. Who is that person, that decision maker on that buyer behavior journey that's going to buy this product? We work with a client up and on, it's called Pan Intelligence. They're business analytics and business intelligence solutions in SaaS and MarTech. So very, very specific. Target markets are, your CTOs, people in the technology elements, sometimes finance, sometimes owner. You've got to understand who your market is, and they're not going to just come to our client site and be like, nope, there's other competitors out there like Yellowfin, Quervy, Power BI, which not really competitor, they're huge, Microsoft, but Sisense. There's so many other brands out there that are pushing out embedded analytics and business intelligence. So you've got to differentiate your comments and your content towards that. How are we going to attract these, our new customers or target new customers or work with new sectors where our competition isn't? How are we going to create our own blue ocean where we have our niche? I'm going to highlight something that we've had from a previous guest where we talked about early in the season. It was called Stand Out or Die with Gareth Healy. And he is ex-agency owner, now a big influencer within managing and consulting with key agencies, had consulted us in the background. So a big shout out to Gareth Healy if you're watching. And his book about Stand Out or Die was all about, how standstill agencies lose clients, stand out agencies retain clients, and elements like that. And his posting on social media, LinkedIn, has been great. And that's what you got to do. You got to look at how you're going to stand out, how you're going to differentiate yourself. Is it with branding? Is it by making more noise? What we do right now, if you watch on YouTube or if you're listening, this podcast is one of the ways we try to differentiate. Because on a podcast, we talk about different topics, different techniques. Sometimes we have guests. Sometimes we talk about different updates. Sometimes a bit too broad, sometimes about a hot topic. We try to provide enough educational, informative content, because the idea is that you can listen to this and hopefully you go away and start searching, red ocean versus blue ocean, and start learning the differentiations with that. And you start applying that methodology to your business and think, you know what? That might help me because I'm in a current sticky situation. I need to differentiate from my competitors. That might help. So this podcast is part of our education platform along with Bite Size. And I know we mentioned this a few times on our podcast, and sorry to kind of repeat ourselves and beat the same drum, but that's why we do it. It's to educate. It differentiates us. We had a client come up to us and I said, that reached out to us directly to pitch against 3 other agencies. I'm still in that process as of today, but we're very confident with our approach that we had to do. And we did some Google audits, we did some Meta audits and some LinkedIn audits. But what really stood out was our approach. And I said, when I asked, how did you hear about us? And we had our initial consultations, like, you had over, 1,000 followers on LinkedIn. You had some good social media presence. You were active. Your blogs were was good. I was just looking for businesses that practiced what they preached. And I loved the podcast and I loved the bite-sized events. And obviously it helped that we were local and they're based in Leeds City Centre. But when they mentioned the other agencies we're going against, I know they're much bigger, more established, longer running agencies than us. So it was like, okay, this is great that we're now being part of that conversation. But I made sure we differentiated ourselves in terms of how we approached that pitch, in terms of our methodology, our approach to that audit. And at the end of the pitch, when I asked him, the first question I asked was, did we deliver on the brief you set out? And the response was bang on, and actually gave us a wink. So that leaves you with a positive review that actually was bang on. So first of all, paying attention to what your customers or your potential customers are saying in terms of the pain points they're struggling with, and actually answering those questions as well sometimes helps. And that's the perfect feedback for us, because when we go into a pitch, we want to make sure that, we've gone in there, they've learned something, we've hit everything they want us to do, and now we're just, fingers crossed, waiting to hear back that we, put that client on board. But again, time will tell. And if we don't, we'll say, well, why? What could we have done better? What could we have done differently that somebody else did? And then we can adapt that or implement that into what we're doing. So blue ocean versus red ocean, or red ocean versus blue ocean, whichever you want to look at it. Research it, Google it. A very interesting methodology. I think something that's very relevant to us now. I think what we should, if you're really stuck in that red ocean environment, look to differentiate out elements or key parts of your service offering or product offering, and how you can start making a key difference and start swimming in an ocean where it's easy to pick up customers, potentially new customers you haven't considered with, and you're not competing for those customers in a different market. That wraps up season 3. I want to thank everyone who's listened to every single episode. We see the stats and statistics. We're very, very grateful. Thank you for those who have subscribed and continue to subscribe and listen. Thank you for those who are giving feedback. Thank you to all my guests that have been on this season. I'm really looking forward to season 4, which is next, launching out from January next year. We're going to take a week break before that episode launches out. We've got a host of guests lined up for the first 6 months already booked. So really interested. We'll be able to provide you with more reactional content, because we're, instead of recording monthly as we do, we're going to be recording bi-weekly. So we'll be able to provide more up-to-date content elements. So we have been listening back, because some people say, oh, this was good, but around about a couple of weeks ago when I needed it. So we've listened to that. So more frequent podcast elements like that should obviously help and provide more instant information, education for you to take away, not just from me, but from some specialists in the market in different areas. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to keep up to date on what we do next year. Happy holidays and happy Christmas and happy New Year to anyone who's celebrating, because this episode should come out just after that or before that. I can't remember. And I will catch you on season 4. Thank you very much.